morning. Once again, it's Benigosi. Today I will be doing the trigonometric function. I will be answering the question from the question paper. I don't know which year was this, maybe 2017 question paper, paper 2. So we will be looking at this question and then we will answer them using our basic function. So here, this is the basic function of sine. Y is equal to sine x, and this is the basic function of y is equal to cos x. So you can see in the basic sine function, the maximum is the amplitude, which is equal to positive 1, and then we have the maximum there, and then we have a minimum there, and you know that that maximum is at 90 degrees, and you know that the minimum is at 270 degrees. And then here we know that when x is 0, y is also 0. That means at 0 degrees, the sine graph is 0. And at 360 degrees, the sine graph is 0. At 180 degrees, the sine graph is 0. We know that the cos graph differs from the sine graph because the cos graph at 0 degrees is 1. And then at 90 degrees is 0, and at 180 is minus 1, and then at 270 is 0 again, and then there at 360 is 1, positive 1. So the amplitude of this y is equal to cos x graph, the amplitude is 1 as well. And the maximum, we find it at positive 1, and the minimum at negative 1 as well. So we'll be checking the graph that is given here. The graph that is given here, the question say in the diagram below, the graph of f at x is equals to negative 2 cos x is drawn from the interval 0 degrees between 0 degrees and 360. So it's the same one, the similar interval for this both of this y is equal to sine x. So let's check what is common between the cos. This is the cos graph. We know that this is the cos graph is negative 2 cos x. So we know that y is equal to cos x should be the same as this one. It's just that the effect that they are doing on this graph is that they put the negative 2 in front of cos x. So if they put negative 2 in front of cos x, that means there's something that has happened. The negative means the graph, the original graph, has been reflected on the x-axis, has been reflected about this x-axis. That means this point will change. This point and this point will come here. This point will come here, and this point will come here, and this will come here if it is reflected on the x-axis. And then the 2 means that the minimum and the maximum have changed. So the amplitude is positive 2. If they can ask us the amplitude of the original graph used to be positive 1. That means for this one is going to be positive 2. The amplitude is always positive. Remember that the amplitude is always positive. So let's try to answer this question here. We know that this graph is the reflection of this one about the x-axis because we see the negative sign here. And if it's 2 here, that means now this graph has been multiplied by 2. So the maximum of this graph is it should be at positive 2. The maximum should be at positive 2, and the minimum should be at negative 2. If the graph didn't shift vertically or horizontally. So you see this graph here doesn't shift vertically, upwards or downwards. The change is the reflection on the x-axis and the amplitude. The amplitude is the minimum and the maximum have changed. So these points will remain here and this point will remain here. So we can see 270 is here, and 190 degrees here is also here. 180 degrees is the turning point of the graph. It was the minimum. Now it's supposed to be the maximum because the graph has been reflected. So you can see that is the maximum, and that maximum has been multiplied by 2. So this point has changed, and this point has changed, and this point also has changed. So the question say we must write down the amplitude of f. So this graph it is called f. So the amplitude of f it should be positive 2 if we can answer that question. Is let's answer this question very quickly. So I will add another slide here. So if we can answer the first question, amplitude, let me write it correct. Amplitude is positive 2. So that is the first question that we have answered. Let's just number the question according to the numbering system. So it is 6.1, and then let's go to 6.2 and check what is the question in 6.2. Write down the minimum value of f at x plus 3. So let's check the minimum of this graph here. It is what? It is -2. You can see here this graph is at -2. This is the minimum. The graph doesn't go beyond -2. It turns there at -2. That means this is the minimum and this is the maximum. So now they want us to calculate, to write down the minimum, the new minimum, if they add +3 there. So we will take -2 plus 3. That is the only thing that we should do. You can see it's 1 mark. So that is the thing that we are going to do. We're going to say our minimum is -2. Now the only thing that we should do now, we just add that 3, and then our new minimum is going to be +1. Let's check again the next question. This question say on the same axis draw the graph of g, where g is equals to sine x plus 1 for the interval, for the same interval. So that means that the graph that we should draw, it looks similar to the original graph. You can see this is the original graph, y is equal to sine x. They just added 1 there. So if we add 1, that means this graph has moved 1 unit up. So this graph, let me just illustrate. This graph has moved, this point here has moved 1 unit up, and this point here has moved 1 unit up, and this point has moved 1 unit up. This point has moved 1 unit up, and this point has moved 1 unit up. So that is the graph that we should draw. So let me just show you roughly. This point used to be here, now it's here. And let me just expand. Maybe let's say it's +2 there. This point here, it used to be at +1. It is at +2, and this point used to be here. Now it is here. This point used to be here. Now it is here. This point used to be here. Now it is there. So let's just join all the points. We just join, we join. So this is the graph that they want. So we will draw it on the same axis here. That means it is this point here is at +2. This point also, the other point is at what? At 90 degrees. It used to be at 1. It should be at, no, let me just correct this. This point used to be at 0, is at 1. Should be at 1. Let me just use another color. This point is here now, and the point that used to be at 1 is at +2, and the point that used to be at 180 should be at 0. Now it is at 1, and we also have a point here, and then we also have a point there. So this is exactly the green graph that we have just drawn now. Let's just combine all the points. Yeah, we just combine all these points. So this is the graph that they want. So we are done. We get 3 marks for this. Let's just name it They say we must name it G at X. That means we should name it G. This is G, and that is F. So yeah, we are correct. So the next question say, let me just, we will continue to the next